If you're following our channel where we update the most thrilling, surprising and never before revealed plots of The Young and the Restless, then don't take your eyes off the screen. We not only bring you unexpected twists, but also open up the darkest corners behind characters who seem unstoppable. And this time, the story of Damian will leave you breathless. Dim light filters through the heavy curtains in the cold hospital room. The humming sounds, the rhythmic sounds of machines. The distant footsteps in the hallway echo as if calling back to a forgotten reality. Damian has been lying motionless for weeks, on the fragile line between life and death, but today, his eyes finally slowly open. Each blink was like a battle with his own body, but in those eyes burned a fire that could not be extinguished easily, the fire of life. And of the truth that had not been revealed. From that moment on, Damian did not need anyone to tell him what had happened. The sharp pain in his chest not only reminded him of the blade that had been stabbed into him, but also deeply engraved the image of the person who had betrayed him. The person who seemed incapable of doing anything to him. But not a single tear rolled down his cheek. Not a single cry came out. Damian had faced danger before. But this time the wound was not just physical, it was a deep cut into his heart, into his trust, into a past that seemed stable. And now, he had only one goal, the truth. Despite the objections of the team of doctors and nurses, Damian resolutely left the hospital bed earlier than any other patient had ever done. His body had not yet fully recovered. But his will had guided him. With the reluctant help of a few trusted assistants, Damian urgently organized a large press conference at the most luxurious hotel in the city. The press release was sent out within 24 hours of his opening. The entire media was in an uproar. No one dared to believe that the man who was thought to have been left behind forever after the attack was now ready to face the public. That day, the hotel auditorium was packed to capacity. Cameras were installed everywhere, reporters crowded together in a suffocatingly tense atmosphere. No one knew exactly what Damian would say. But everyone felt that a shocking secret was about to be revealed. Damian stepped onto the stage in a cold black suit, his face gaunt but his eyes filled with determination. He didn't need notes. Didn't need a prepared script. Each word was uttered with all the strength left in his chest that seemed to be broken. In front of hundreds of cameras filming live. Damian did not beat around the bush. He began by confirming that the attack was not a robbery as many had speculated. He made it clear, this was a deliberate act. A sophisticated plot to end him forever. But what made the whole room fall silent was not that, but when he publicly named the person who stabbed him, someone no one expected. Someone he had protected, sheltered, even considered blood. Without any hesitation, Damian said the person's name directly, a famous figure in society. With extensive relationships in both finance and politics, someone who had always stood at the pinnacle of fame with a perfect image in the eyes of the public. Damian's direct naming of that person sent the entire room into a state of shock. Some reporters dropped their pens and recorders. Others immediately rushed out to make phone calls, relaying news to the newsrooms. But Damian stood there, unwavering, unshaken. He recounted the details of that fateful night, the sudden call in the middle of the night, asking him to come to a specific location to handle an important matter related to the company. When Damian arrived, the lights were dim, no one was in sight except the person who had set the trap. There was no warning. There was no chance to fight back. The blade came from behind, embedded deep in his chest, causing him to collapse in an instant. Damian described the cold voice of the person who stabbed him, the emotionless eyes, and the departure without looking back. It was not a spur-of-the-moment action, but a carefully calculated plan. And it was that calmness that Damian could not forgive. After naming the attacker, Damian presented the evidence. Audio recordings, security camera footage, GPS data. Call records, all were displayed on a large screen, in front of the media and millions of viewers watching live. He left no room for anyone to deny or distort the truth. Each detail was presented clearly as an undeniable indictment. Each piece of evidence was like a knife to the heart of the person who betrayed him. Not stopping there, Damian declared that he would not let this incident sink into the ground like so many other scandals that had been buried in the past. He declared war on the entire system that had tolerated this enemy disguised as a relative. From the government to his business partners, he declared that he would bring them all to light. Damian was no longer the forgiving man he once was. He was a survivor. And a survivor has the right to demand justice. The press conference ended in chaos. The media immediately reported the news at a dizzying pace. Special TV channels stopped broadcasting their daily programs to update the developments minute by minute. People everywhere were talking excitedly, and the authorities could not ignore the fierce public opinion. Within 48 hours of the press conference, an official investigation order was issued. And the person Damian had accused was officially summoned. However, the real battle had only just begun. Damian knew that, having made his enemy public, he would not only have to face an individual, but also a force behind that person. The threats would not stop. But he was mentally prepared to confront, to expose everything hidden in the dark. And this time, he was not alone, the public was on his side. Other victims began to speak out. Those who had been hurt but never dared to speak out were now empowered by Damian's courage. Since that press conference, Damian has become a symbol of the truth that cannot be suppressed. Although he is still recovering physically, his spirit has never been stronger. In the following days, he appeared in public continuously, attending hearings, cooperating with the police and lawyers to complete the prosecution case. He did not avoid any questions. And what surprised everyone most was his calmness, not because he was not in pain, but because he transformed the pain into strength. Damian survived the fatal stab, but more miraculously, he emerged as a warrior not only for himself, but also for the truth that had been distorted for so long. And this war, no matter how long, no matter how dangerous, he will not back down. The world has exploded once again. Damian, who has returned from the dead, is no longer just a victim. He has become a real threat to all those behind the curtain of lies. And we will be the only place to keep you closely following every next development in this relentless war. Remember to follow and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the next shocking episodes. Because in the world of the young and the restless, nothing is safe. No one is innocent, and the next shock could come as soon as your next click.